We're talking about leverage. We've been all over the board, but I'd like to think we started from ground zero. So, thank you for being here. And for those of you that missed any sessions, just let me know in the chat, and then Carmel's going to help us out with some recordings. So, in fact, let's just no, because we want the chat going. So, if there is a session that stands out here, September 2nd or September 9th, please comment down below. And then, Carmel, if you can help us out with the recordings. But here's where we've been, and this is where we're going. So, the entire month of September, we're talking leverage. There's different forms of leverage. So, I did my best, my absolute best to start from the ground zero to get us to where we need to be, in my opinion. So, on September 2nd, so 2 weeks ago, we talked about basically just building the framework, getting some time blocking, prioritizing income producing activities. We went through a few exercises that helped us do just that. But it was, let's call it baby leverage. This is something that we hear quite a bit. This is really the TikTok type version where you get all these videos that seem to share just very basic, very almost like common sense type information. So we covered that information, but took it one step further and provided something very tactical on how you actually go about time blocking as a real estate agent, because it's a little bit different. Then we went into documenting. We went into creating checklists, some systems, some automations. I shared with you how we automate different parts of our business. You got a CRM from that session. You got several checklists from that session. I believe I shared the buyer checklist that we use here internally whenever a client gets into contract all the way to close. So essentially, it's kind of like a transaction coordinating type of checklist. So I shared those systems with you and gave you a just a copy and paste that you could use into your world. So today what we're going to look at is leveraging folks. So essentially we're talking about our support team, our homies, our staff, our team members that are going to help execute on our vision. And I took different approaches to it. So you see here that we're talking about ISAs, transaction coordinators, VAs, and showing agents. Those are, for the most part, in my opinion, some of the higher revenue generating hires that you could have. And because these roles aren't necessarily going to go out there and make you money, if you will, but what we're looking to do is we're looking to save time so we can be out there and being the advocates for our business and focus more and more on income generating activities. So making the sales calls, making appointments, negotiating, really helping our business grow in that way. Now, I had a framework. I had a way of doing leverage originally, but quite a few frameworks have been challenged, I'll put it that way, by this book, Buy Your Time Back. Has anybody read this book? No? All right, so today, let's do this. Let's go ahead and raffle it off right away. So let's go between a number 1 and 20. If you see the same number that you're going to select, please don't select it again because I don't want to send two copies. But let's go 1 and 20, and then we'll be sending you this book out as a thank you for being here and also as a action taker that you are. So 1 and 20, just comment 1 and 20, and whoever gets the closest, doesn't matter if you're over, this isn't the Price is Right. Whoever gets closer or closest or nails it, you'll be getting that book. But that book did challenge a good amount of the frameworks that I previously had, so I've adopted some of those into our session today and show you where how I've been able to do this personally, and to give you a little bit of sense of our business right now on staff, we'll call it that. So in internal staff, we have 30 folks right now. So it's a combination of ISAs, combination of transaction coordinators, combination of VAs, combination of I wouldn't even call showing agents there 'cause in that number. I do business a little bit different from the showing agents perspective, but I'll show you what that looks like. So I've been, I'd like to think, pretty successful at generating a pretty formidable team. Some of you have actually, interacted with them in the past. So hopefully you feel the same way. But again, just doing this, sharing this out of experience where it has worked, where it hasn't. And if you have any questions along the way, please, please, please let me know. So as as a quick little recap of where we've been. So for me, when I look at leverage, the way that I think about leverage in the form of technology or people. So technology is really the first starting point where I go whenever I need a new task to be done, whenever I'm looking to accomplish something new. I look for, is there a system out there? Is there a software out there? Is there a something out there technology based that can do what I'm looking to do? So very something very simple is something that we can all wrap our heads around is if a new lead comes in, so a new lead from Facebook, is there a way for me to automate that and send it into our CRM, so then the CRM can send out emails, send out texts, send out calls without any human intervention. So that's what I mean with technology. I look for opportunities with technology first to build leverage. If there is no technology that exists, which for that example there is, but if in the event that there wasn't, then I would look for people. I would look for folks that could help me in that, facilitating that information. So someone to log into Facebook, either make the calls directly, input the information into our CRM, do the follow up. All of that can get very manual. Now, when we get to manual, we introduce a lot of opportunities for messing things up. We're all human. So with technology, it's a little bit more duplicatable. It's a little bit more cost effective. It's something that you could leverage pretty quickly. But with folks, which is what we're going to talk about today, it's a little bit more human because it's people. So here we're introducing more room for error. Here we're introducing more inconsistency with showing up. Here we have a bit more inconsistency altogether. Now I'm not casting dispersions. That's something that I myself, you know, I mess up all the time. So here again, it's just human nature here. So if I can get away with doing technology rather than people, I'm gonna choose technology 100% of the time. So, and I'll share with you kind of where we've tried both, and one outperformed over the other quite drastically. Now, leverage for me, for getting even more tactical, I look at three things. I look for AI to solve a lot of my problems. I look for video to build some leverage into my business, and virtual assistants to achieve duplication. So everything that I'm looking to do now, as I do an AI deep dive first, then I will use video to build some additional leverage, and then I will do virtual assistants to carry on that legacy, to carry on and do things that need to be done. But I'll get very, very tactical here shortly. So we can get past the leverage, why leveraging people. I think we kind of understand, but just since I wrote it down, let's just go through it. So solo agent ceiling, only so many hours in the day. I think we can all relate to that, right? So we only have so many hours in a day. Even if we were working 24/7, we recognize that all 24 hours in that day are not going to be as effective for us. Sure, we could work 24 hours if we so chose, but we know that a good majority of that is not going to be the highest and best use or the highest and best effort, because we all have a certain amount of decisions that we can make in a day before we hit fatigue. There's only so much that we can do within a certain amount of day before we get tired, right? So we have our ceiling. So some of us might be very, very productive for 2 hours. Some of us might be very productive for four. Some of us may be very productive for six. So each one of us has our own ceilings. So we have to, at this point, start building in leverage. And I'll share with you what that looks like shortly. So multiplying effort without multiplying hours, if we wanted like a textbook definition, that's what I believe it to be. So multiplying effort without multiplying hours. And the core principle that we talked about in our first session was that your time should be focused on income producing activities. So the IPAs, prospecting, showing, negotiating. Those are the three, in my opinion, for real estate agents. So prospecting, finding new business, showing, converting the business, negotiating is like another form of converting the business. So getting people into contracts is what it's about at this point. So these are, again, income producing activities. Organizing your folders internally is not income producing. And I think we know that. Just restructuring your internal processes for the sake of restructuring your internal processes without an outcome in mind, that's not income producing. And again, we all have our own vices that we fall into. I myself am the type that would just continue to do things internally, just little changes here and there that really have no outcome on getting new business and converting the business. That's a big fault of mine. So I have to really look at what is income producing. Um, and I'm going off script here for a quick second, but I want to show you something that's been helpful for me. Um, I'll show you my master task list. Let me make sure there's nothing super critical here. I'll show you my master task list. I'll show you this right here. So something that's been super helpful, just extremely helpful for me, has been um, having a list, but instead of it being on my notebook, I have it on Notion. So just about everybody here knows that I'm a big fan of Notion. So here, I just have a running tally. This is one page. So I have my entire master task list that I need to do. So some things that are short-term projects, some things that are larger project, but I take this part so seriously now that I call myself out, right? So AFG main website. So this is a website that I've been meaning to make for the longest time. So I determine, is this a personal thing that I need to do, or is this a business thing? I'm not trying to overcomplicate it, but I do need to call myself out so then I can look back after the year and see, all right, well, where did my year of activities go? So here, again, just call it out. Is it going to be a personal or is it a business thing that I'm doing? But that needs to get done. So this is our to-do list. Give myself a due date. Oftentimes I miss it, but at least giving myself realistic due dates of when things can get done. And this is the most important thing. Once I install this into this one question, it really changed the game for me. It allowed me to hit the abandon button on a lot of the projects that I had that I needed to do. But here it's so simple. Is this revenue generating? Yes or no? When I first started this exercise, I want to say 3 years ago is when I started adopting this and I have a running task list. The majority of the things that I was doing was no, this is not revenue generating activity. So when I became aware of that, I had suspicion if we're being honest. But whenever I became aware of that and I started integrating different tasks or adding different tasks to this list and hitting no, 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 I was quickly reminded and was quickly taught to adjust my behavior here. So with all the no, no, no's, like no, this is not generating revenue. This is not generating revenue. It quickly allowed me just to mentally refocus on what I needed to focus on. So I'm not going to say that now they're all yeses because that's impossible, but it helps me stay accountable to myself. And I might just flash it for a quick second. Just show you. I'll show you this part right here. So the business, I categorize what business I'm talking about here. So the DFW Homeowner Group, our production team, the Agent First Group, the revenue share group that I have here within our brokerage, Creator Agents. So some of you all know Creator Agents, which is our Done For You YouTube program. So I see where my time and energy is being spent, and then I also see what's actually bringing in business. So you see, still even to this day, I have a few yeses, but a good amount of no's. It's not bringing me new business. Does that make sense? Something simple like this, I invite you to introduce into your world if you're having trouble focusing on the main thing and keeping it the main thing. Something so simple like that's going to change your day. It's going to change your business. I wasn't even planning to cover this part, but it's just that important. Now, before we go any further, let's raffle off this. Has everybody commented a number between 1 and 20? I want to make sure that I get this book into somebody's hands. So a number between 1 and 20. This is going to be my last reminder before we actually raffle it off because I do see a few comments. All right. So suspend your excuses. One, I can't afford it. Well, to be cliche, you can't afford not to at this point. So I can't afford it. If you can have somebody else do the things that you don't like doing, things that are not going to bring you business directly, if you can have somebody or technology step in and do those things for you, you free yourself up to go out there and focus on revenue generating activities. If you spend all of your time in the inbox and not enough time speaking to other individuals about buying or selling, then you're going to quickly run out of inbox because no one new is going to come to you. So you can't afford it. That's really that's a question that comes more out of fear than out of reality, right? So you can't afford it. It's not a valid excuse any longer. I do it better. You might be, but 80% of somebody else's effort is gonna be, as long as it's getting done, like 80% of somebody else's effort that is doing the thing is better than your 100% of not doing it, right? So 80% of it getting done is better than 100% from you of not getting it done. So somebody can get very close to what you can do. And again, you're gonna find that folks are so talented that we're not the best at everything. So you're going to find that people can exceed what you're able to do. So allow for those individuals to help you grow your business in that way. So the I do it better mentality is something that can be retired today. It only takes 5 minutes. So sure, it can take 5 minutes for you to set up a safe search. Of course, it can take 5 minutes for you to upload an amendment to your SkySloop or your Instanet or things or anything that you might be thinking about. Sure, it could take 5 minutes or 2 minutes to reply to an email, especially now that you have ChatGPT. However, we're not talking about just 5 minutes. We're talking about 5 minutes times 500, the 500 times that you've had to reply to that email. We're talking about 5 minutes times the 20 times that you've had to answer the same questions, right? So we're not talking about just 5 minutes. We're not paying or playing for a 5 minute task. We're playing for something bigger than that, where you're going to be responding to emails daily, right? So it's not just 5 minutes. You're going to be uploading amendments left and right, depending on how many transactions you're doing. So it's not going to be just 5 minutes. It adds up, is what I'm trying to say. So it only takes 5 minutes. Again, it's not a valid excuse any longer. And I don't have time to train. Well, here again, on this particular session, I go in depth into how you're training, how you should go about training, how you leverage yourself, and we went step by step on how to do that. So if you need those recordings, I think there was Carmel, are you here? Can you drop that one? Actually, can you drop both recordings, please, in the chat? So September 2nd and September 9th. Let's just suspend our excuses at that point. So let's get into the nitty gritty. I know this is what you came for, but I really want to dispel a few things that are holding us back from taking action, and then really highlighting the why we're even spending some time in this particular topic, especially dedicating an entire month to it. Thank you, Carmel. So September 2nd is in the chat. So if you miss September 2nd, it is in the chat. And September 9th, thank you, Carmel, is in the chat as well. So just click on it and you'll be good to go. All right, so let's break it down into some categories because we don't want to boil the ocean, especially if this is our first hire. So let's see where we're at. How many of you have somebody else working in your business, whether that's an ISA, a TC, a VA, or a showing agent, or any other type of leverage? How many of you have somebody? Or if you want to say if you want to say zero, if you don't have one, one, two, three, four, five, however many you have in your team. Stephanie, one. Ron, one, or Ron, I do. Sam, zero. One VA for Rob. We have a TC for Jose. One VA for Danny. Two admins and 5 agents. Awesome, awesome. So we're building some leverage. We have some leverage. That's perfect. That's perfect. All right, so let's talk about the roles for our agents, for us as agents. So we have inside sales agent. Now, this is often confused with cold caller. This is beyond a cold caller. Now, there's nothing wrong with cold calling. It's a division of ISAs, and it also does get lumped in with VAs, just general VA stuff. So I want to break it down for you because it's going to help you with hiring. So here again, we have at this point we have 30 team members inside our organization. And as far as how many lifetime, I'd like to think it's gonna sound terrible, but I think I'll tell you exactly how many. I've some that have invited to seek employ that I've invited to seek employment elsewhere. I have an entire count. Give me one second. About 90. About 90 lifetime that I've hired. Like this isn't just project based. If we were talking project based, it'd be 500, but about 90 that I've had full time hired inside the organization. And my only claim to fame here is that the first hire that I ever had, her name is Jasmine, and she's been with me since day one. Like she's actually, I think it was a 2018 hire. So she's actually head of our operations. So she's really good. But anyway, so inside sales agents, what do? They make calls, nurture leads, set appointments, free you from chasing cold and warm leads. And the action item that I want to talk about here is decide if you need inbound or outbound prospecting. So here's what this looks like. So ISA. So this is something that, for the most part, this is where I encourage agents to start if you have a little bit of trepidation of bringing somebody else on. This is somebody that will help you convert, if not procure business for you. So again, this is going to help you convert or procure business for you. This is not necessarily the back office type of a role. This is more of a front facing side. This is a challenging hire. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it is one of the ones that does bring you a high return on investment. So if you're getting an influx of inbound leads, so I know we have several creators on here, and we have several creators that just drive a ton of massive business. So I know, let's see, who do we have here? Franco is usually on here. So Franco is somebody that you have seen here before. This is where we started with him. So he started his YouTube channel in 2021. And now, as far as inbound calls, he'll get roughly, I don't know, 1,200 calls a month of inbound traffic. So for him, what he needs is more inbound people that are answering the phone that need to be there and return calls. So these are friendlies. This is inbound traffic. So having ISAs that take care of that is very instrumental because you could spend your entire day returning calls, and simply because we return a phone call doesn't mean that they're going to answer, right? So then we get into that phone tag back and forth. Now, the outbound prospecting, this is more of what we would deem the cold calling division. So this is us going out there and prospecting for business. So this is where, if you're hiring, as an example, you would be putting on your job post cold caller. This is somebody that would call. You would give a Redex list that you would give them that list, and they would call homeowners to see if they're interested in selling. That would be if you're looking for some support to grow your business. This is where I would start. This would be the first place that I would start, having somebody in your business that will go out there and work on your business while you're working on something else. So here, this would be them calling the homeowners and seeing if they're interested um, in buying or I'm sorry, in selling. Now the inbound answering the phone calls. This, if you have a paid ad strategy where if you're effective at ads, you'll have your if you're effective at ads, having somebody track down these leads, having somebody follow up on these leads, it's absolutely crucial, right? So it's something that, depending on how you're procuring your business, you might be looking at doing an inbound or an outbound. And believe it or not, the skill set is different. So here I've hired plenty of cold callers. It very rarely works. And I've hired plenty of inbound people because of the way that we're able to generate business. That's been more successful for us personally. So again, I haven't really, being completely candid with you, I haven't really cracked the code on the cold calling aspect. I don't necessarily know. Maybe I just haven't dedicated enough resources to it. But just calling a spade for the outbound prospecting. Here we're talking about the cold calling division. It just requires a different skill set. So just know what you're hiring for. But at the end of the day, these are within the realm of the inside sales agents. Any questions on these? Alrighty, TCs. This is what we as agents, this is in my opinion, especially as you're getting started. Um, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would have hired a transaction coordinator from the very beginning. So transaction coordinators, what I really like about TCs, the good ones, is that they are way more organized than I am. They know more about the contracts than I do and are paid usually at closing. Right? So it's not an expense until money is coming in. So that's what I really like about that because it can feel quite your chest could tighten up if you're paying somebody whatever you're paying them, whether it's if you're hiring virtually $4 to $8 an hour, if you're hiring locally $10 to $15 an hour. That can get very challenging knowing that every single hour this person's on the payroll, I am on the hook for that payroll, right? But with transaction coordinators, here again, there's usually a set fee. It could be $200 to $500 depending on where you are in the country. But this isn't an expense until something actually closes. You're not paying that every single week. You're not paying that every single month. So the payroll is not something that gets affected until something closes. So transaction coordinators, I think actually some of you have transaction. Has anybody not used a TC before? Has anybody not used a TC before where they handle contracts, amendments, deadlines, compliance? I haven't. Okay. I think a few of us have, and that's great. If you haven't, I would encourage you to explore with one of your transactions, getting somebody to do a transaction manage to TC your next contract. It's gonna, if anything else, you learn and see what somebody that in theory and in many cases actuality is managing 20 transactions, 50 transactions. Some of these TC companies have gotten massive, so you get to see their templates. You get to see their responses. You get to see their follow up. So, if anything else, if you use that as an education for you, so think of this as you being the intern in this case, and them being, I'm going to exaggerate, but them being Apple. Well, you see what the Apple product looks like. Now you can take some of those principles and apply them um, into your business. So here again, just explore it. Um, if you want to, make it painful, track how much time you are spending on contract to close, right? Especially for those of you road warriors that are spending a ton of time, the windshield time. So you're spending behind the windshield. Well, think about what happens in your day to day. You're out there showing, but then this repair request or this repair amendment needs to be written out. And well, now you have to go and find that local Starbucks to sit down. Some of you that are, uh, you know, I don't feel comfortable going into Starbucks without paying for something. So there just became an expense. So there I have the least expensive product in Starbucks is like $4.22. So I'm out $4.22 now. And I've stopped my car, went into Starbucks, spent some money, hope that the internet is strong enough, me draft up the offer, and then I send it back. Right. So that action, that motion at bare minimum took me 30 minutes at bare minimum. So track that, make it painful for you. See what it actually costs for you to write up offers, get them into your Sky Slope or whatever you use to transact, sending the amendments, like track that into your business and see what you're realistically looking at. It's going to dispel once again, it only takes 5 minutes to do. Right. So sometimes we need a little bit more pain in order for us to act. And this would be one of the ways for you to do that. But again, I would say just cut to the chase, cut to the ending, try at least one transaction with the TC. And at bare minimum, you learn, you have more systems, you have checklists, what we talked about up here. You have a checklist that you can now use for when you're hiring internally or when you're hiring internally. So thankfully, I've had every single one of these and then some. I've had external hiring things out. But now, thankfully, I have everything in-house. So I used to outsource video editing. Well, now we have a billion editors. I used to outsource designers. I have a billion designers now. Um, uh, ISAs, same thing. We hire those out. Now everyone's internal. The latest hire that I'm really most proud of myself is I used to outsource everything for my web design, but now we have two developers in house that are just focused on getting websites done, right? So it there's a really good way to outsource that and then bring it in house for whenever the time comes. Now, VAs, this is what you're going to find the most. If you start here, it's going to get overwhelming. If you hire, just let's call it general VAs, it's going to get overwhelming because a lot of individuals will tout that they are good at being virtual assistants, will tout that they're good at social media posting, and even though they've never posted a day in their life. So this is one that becomes a little bit more challenging to filter for. This is one that's a little bit more challenging to get right because of the sheer volume. So if you go out there and hire, I would encourage you to start with the inside sales agent. This one, I would just straight out outsource if I were you. And then virtual assistants, just general virtual assistants, I would I would not make that my priority. Unfortunately, a lot of us make this our first and only stint. We try one, then we get frustrated, then we fire, then we try another, then we get frustrated and we fire again, and then okay, that clearly doesn't work. So I'm just going to do everything myself. This is a really good way for you to get frustrated, but we'll continue. I have a little hack here, a bonus section that I have for us that shows you how to think about hiring, which will help you make decisions a little bit better when it comes to virtual assistants. Social media posting, database management, research, admin. So notice that a lot of these things are so abstract. Like, well, what does database management mean? What does research mean? Like, no one's going to be better at researching than I am. No one's going to be better at posting my social media content than I am. No one's going to be better at organizing my files. Well, because everything is so subjective. So when you find that which is challenging, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. When you find that virtual assistant that absolutely is a game changer in your business, you're never going to let them go. There's not enough that you can pay for those people in your business. And there's several of those within my, I know I keep bringing them to me. I'm not trying to brag. I haven't really built anything too impressive, if you will. But what I am trying to illustrate here is that through a lot of trial and error, I've learned a few things that are going to be helpful for you so you don't go out there and make those same mistakes. There's several folks within my organization that if they left, I am effed. I am effed through and through. So here, just be careful when you're hiring for virtual assistants. It's really, as far as if we're talking about cost, this is going to be one of the least expensive hires that you're going to have, all things considered. So for you, the action item here is writing down 3 to 5 tasks. I should have put three, 5 tasks you did this week that didn't make you money and delegate that. I've showed you previously, I showed you how I go about deciding what my next hire is going to be. I showed you that little framework that I had of, um, I'll show it to you once again. So I would say every quarter or so, I do an assessment of where my business is. Um, and I have a running list. Let's see if I can show this without sharing too much. So I have something that I've already outsourced. So things that I've already outsourced, certain tasks, what I'm still currently doing, I don't want to say having to do, but what I'm still doing, and then what I wish that I was doing. Right. So there's a list of things that I'm currently doing right now, whether that's the newsletter, whether that's running paid ads, whether that's ABC. And then there's a list of things that I wish that I was doing in my business. That's where I want you to start and find those opportunities so you can train folks into your business. And again, I'll show you the framework that I use, or really the principle that I use when I hire. But virtual assistants here, again, the easiest thing for you is going to be track what you actually need to get done. And going back to the way that I showed you how to do the working smarter and not harder, document through templates and checklists what needs to be done. So, as an example, if you have a newsletter that you do every single Monday, document, get on Zoom or get a Loom account, record yourself talking through what you do every step of the way. And now you have a document, a video SOP, a video standard operating procedure that you can now pass on to your next hire. Any questions on this? I feel like I'm just talking at you. Any questions on this? Showing agents.
Good stuff.
Robert,
No, I'm just saying good stuff. That's just soaking it in.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Showing agents. This is one that I myself have had the hardest time really accepting. I don't know why, but the showing agents part. So some of you that are very heavy buyer agents, even if you're not, but if you're heavy buyer, I'm sorry, buyer clients, you know that opening doors, doing showings, doing all that fun stuff is a bear. It is challenging, right? So this is the reason that whenever we go on vacation, our chest tightens up. This whenever we're thinking of even considering having a weekend off, it gets very challenging. Well, what if my buyer that's wants to buy an $800,000 home calls me and like, I need to be available, right? This is where marriages end. So this is an opportunity for you to not allow that to happen because of work. I mean, if you have differences, then that's totally different. I can't solve for that. But here, when we're talking about um, showing agents, has anybody had let me back up. Maybe I probably should not have labeled it showing agents, but what I mean by showing agents is having somebody that is not you open a door. Somebody that is not you going and to that first property, second property, third property, somebody that is not you to go and show a home. Has anybody either hired somebody specifically for that full time? Has anybody paid somebody $40, $50, $100 to go and open a door or multiple doors? All right, so yes, so okay, so this concept is not new. This is good. So yes, on Shoami, I have paid and received for doing it a few times. So here again, I can't take credit where I didn't. This was not something that I developed. So somebody that we've had on our summits before, Dave Z. So Dave out of Scottsdale, he's the one on his real estate business. He wouldn't mind me sharing this, but his real estate business, he'll take 6 weeks off out of the year, just completely off. Um, and he has shown a home every year. He'll average showing maybe two, three homes, and every year he'll close about 60 to 70 transactions on the buying side. Now, how he's able to do this is by leveraging heavily Shoami. He could use showing agents, but he had a real estate team that was going out there and doing this for him. However, when he integrated Shoami, which for those of you that don't know, Shoami is a showing service. It's a service that if you need a home shown in most markets, I don't know, they're not everywhere, but in most markets, you would just put them into Shoami, that request into Shoami, and one of the people one of the agents that is signed up with Shoami, they will take up, let's call it the task, the project, the showing. So here you don't have to even go out and find somebody to go and show a home. Now, I think the minimum on Shoami is about 45 bucks, I believe. Now, depending on where it is, like in some remote locations, I've paid up to 100 and, no, $120, I think was the one out in Dublin, Texas, because nobody was there. So here, again, what I'm saying here is try this out. Instead of you going out there and showing every home with your next client, let them know that the highest and best use of your time is what Dave calls being at the register. You wouldn't say this, but like staying at the register where you're just collecting the money, right? Somebody else is going to go out there and make that coffee. Somebody else is going to go out there and make that sandwich. Somebody else is going to go out there and do X, Y, and Z. So for you, you're focused on revenue generating activities where you're um, negotiating, where you're putting contracts together, as opposed to you spending a Saturday afternoon going and doing five showings. That might not be the best. It could be, but that might not be the highest and best use of your time. So instead of you taking a entire Saturday to go and do even one showing, instead of doing that, consider having a showing agent go and show that home for you. Now, a lot of the legwork, this isn't something that I would ask that you introduce into a transaction in the middle of it. I would ask that you entertain showing agents, whether you go into Facebook groups and find somebody that's willing to do a showing. depending on where you are, depending on the market, you would be paying anywhere from 40 to 60 bucks to go and open one door. Um, with Shoami is not all that difference. There's just a bit more convenience. Now, before I lose the plot, with a client, with your next client, introduce this concept. So, hey, Sam, the way that I work is I have showing partners that will go out there and show you the properties anytime, anywhere. You are the absolute boss. So if you need to go see a home in 15 minutes, I can make that happen with my showing partners. Is that okay with you? Right. So just setting that expectation out front is a really good way for when that opportunity comes up next, where it's Wednesday at 6 p.m. and you're just not going to go out because you don't want to go out. Um, and when somebody asks, "Hey, we were driving home from church or whatnot, and we saw this home. Can we see this?" Absolutely. When? Today? Awesome. Perfect. Go on Shoami, get that request that showing, and somebody, again, in most markets, will pick up that showing. So now you provided a higher level of service because you weren't going to go out that Wednesday. You provided a higher level of service. You are not out all that much. You're talking about a $50 expense. So it's much better, in my opinion, it's much better to do a $50 expense and save your time for something else that might be a little bit more pressing, whether it's personal, whether it's business. Does that make sense? So here, what I would suggest is introduce into your next showing, I'm sorry, into your next client, introduce the showing partner concept right from the start. So then you can, when the time does come, somebody else getting introduced into the transaction is not that different. So, and there's multiple transactions that I've been able to bring on that I've never even seen the clients. I don't know what they look like. However, that's okay, and that was part of the arrangement from the very beginning. So everything can be done digital. Even the showings, as you're starting to see, I would encourage you to do that on your next transaction. Any question on ISAs, TCs, VAs, or showing agents? I wish we could do Shoami in Jersey. Are they not out there, D? Or is that not allowed?
Not allowed, unfortunately.
No showing agents?
Nope.
Interesting. Why is that?
Especially after the changes to the buyer broker agreement, because of signing of the buyer broker agreement. Like we can't even offer to have somebody like go for $50 even out of our locale. They have to sign a document in order for them to show it, and they don't get paid initially because everything has to go through the broker. That's the situation in Jersey.
Move. I'm kidding. That sucks.
I digress.
Um,
Bye.
sorry, D. Sorry. That was uncalled for. Um, but that sucks. Sorry. All right, so that might not be an option for you, right? So, but if we're spinning this into a positive, if you had a TC taking care of all of your paperwork, if you had VA supporting you from the front end, if you had ISAs doing all that, well, that would allow you to be that windshield warrior, somebody that's going to be behind the windshield and going and showing homes. I'm not trying to diminish opening doors. Don't mishear me, but um, it in some cases, in most cases, the that's something that agents don't even like. So you get to run the business how you want. So just a little decision framework. I was thinking about the best way to present this. If you're drowning in paperwork, so the amendments, the contracts, all that fun stuff, even if you're a little bit hazy on how to do the paperwork, hire a TC. No questions asked. Here again, reminder, you're paying at closing in many cases. If you're missing calls and leads, hey, let's get an ISA, get somebody that will handle your inbound, handle your follow-up. If you find yourself like being very effective with paid ads and are struggling to find time to return those leads that are coming in, return a call, let's get an ISA into your team as soon as possible. If you're wasting time on miscellaneous things, so things that I didn't spell that right, did I? Miscellaneous things, tasks, bring on a VA, right? Somebody that there's some things that maybe don't fit within categories that we discussed. We'll write out your list of what you do need, record yourself doing those things, and then let's hire somebody to go and execute for you on your behalf. Now, if you're working 7 days a week showing homes, hiring a showing assistant. Now, this occurred to me just on the spot. Another way to integrate this, if you would like, if you make it clear from the outset that you only work Monday through Saturday, and I say only very loosely because that's still a lot of work, but on Sundays, you make it a showing agent Sunday. That is very viable for you. That's very doable for you. So letting your clients know that, hey, on Sundays, that's that I'm not going to be available to show homes, but I do have my showing partners making sure that you get into homes on Sundays as well. So just let me know whatever homes you want to go check out, and I'll make sure that it happens. Right. And if you do this right, you're going to have your team members, you're going to have the rest of your crew, the people that you hire, whether that's VAs, well, maybe not TCs, possibly ISAs, depending on your job description, they will go out there and schedule for you. So as an example, whenever, let me see, Anthony and Nicole, who's only on the showing agent schedule for me, meaning I'm not going to go out and show a home for them because it's a little bit further away than I would care for. Whenever they want to go see a home, they text into a group thread, and then one of our ISAs will go and do some research to see if the home is available and all that fun stuff. So they'll text the agent, get that cleared up, and then we'll schedule the tour, and then go into Showami and request a showing. So I don't even have to do that. So I'm not even behind that. It's somebody else that will take care of that for me. And it's something that you can very well do in your business as well. So track your time this week. Highlight tasks that are not income producing activities. Delegate one task within the next 7 days, and then build systems. So starting small and scaling. So first things first, tracking your time this week. See where it's going right now. Once you start seeing which ones, once you see, and it might be a little bit more obvious than you would think, once you see which task actually needs to never be done by you again, delegate that task, whether it's returning emails, whether it's scheduling showings, whether it's doing research on if homes are even available, whatever the case may be, sending out amendments, sending out addendums, all that fun stuff, delegate that task, and then start building a system around it so team members can undertake those responsibilities without you having to step in every single time. It's a lot simpler than you would think. Now, any questions on that? I'm going to raffle off before I get to the tip for hiring because we're running out of time. But any questions? Hey Siri, what's the number between 1 and 20?
The answer is 4.
The answer is 4. Who got that book? 7. Ooh, Robert, you got 3. Robert, it is. You've won before, right, Robert?
No, first time.
First time winner. Can you DM Carmel directly? Can you DM Carmel if you see her there? Your address, please.
Yeah.
And we'll get this book out to you. All righty. Okay. Any questions before I get into the bonus tip? So the tip for hiring. I know I just went through the entire framework. I know I just went through the entire framework here of, inside sales agents, transaction coordinators, VAs, showing agents. However, if you're looking for just another way of doing it, I'll put it this way. This is actually the way that I personally started doing it here in the past 4 years, maybe 5 years or so. I hire for skill and train for my need. So I hire for skill and I train for the need. So here's what that means for me is I hire a skill set and then I train for things that I need. Meaning I hire for somebody that is good at video editing. I can't train that. I can't teach that, nor do I want to. But I might need to because we've gotten to that scale. So just, but either way, like that's not where I started. So there's plenty of video editors around there that were very quality and that were, you know, it was just very, very easy at that time. But now that we've grown to such a scale that now I might become a video trainer. Anyway, but hire for the skill set first and then train some additional things that you might need. Hire for somebody that's a cold caller. Hire for somebody that's effective on the phones that has experience with using VoIP numbers, so voice over IP numbers. That's experience with databases. That's experiencing with just ripping out these Redx calls because there's been other individuals that have hired these folks in the past, but with phones, you're not going to have any issue finding somebody that is effective on the phones. Why? Well, because we as real estate agents, we become impatient. And after the first months of just not getting many appointments, they will release the talent just prematurely. So you're going to have plenty of people that are effective on the phones that you can train, that you can hire for their skill set and then train them to send out an email as an example, right? So hiring for the skill set first and then train them for what you need. Designers, somebody that's very effective at designing, especially in what we do in the marketing game that we do as agents, it's going to be very important for you. So hire for that and then train for everything else. Developers. So here again, somebody that knows how to create funnels, somebody that knows how to use WordPress or create WordPress websites, invaluable skill set that you can train to help you with content marketing. So that's actually something we're going through right now. One of our developers, he's phenomenal at creating funnels, phenomenal at design, phenomenal at sales copy. Well, now what does he get? He gets to help us. He gets to help us with content writing for all 12 emails that we send out every single week, right? So he's the one that is in charge of that now. Writers, same thing here. So hiring for a copywriter, and then you train them how to respond to your emails. Paid ads, somebody that knows how to run ads, they can be trained to do something else. But what I'm trying to convey here is hire for a skill set, something that would be very challenging for you to train or show how to do, and then train them for what you personally need. So not only are you getting somebody that's really good at writing, but now you're going to get somebody that's phenomenal at responding to your messages. Questions, comments, concerns? All right. Then before we go, let me share this real quick. I'll give you an opportunity to get the notes. So if you just click on the notes there. Robert, did you have a chance to message Carmel?
Yes, sure did. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you. Carmel, if in the Slack channel, we'll get that ordered when you get a moment. All righty. Well, that's all I had. Unless we have any questions, I think we are good to go. So next week, I'm getting sick right in front of y'all. What's going on? Next week, we're talking about multiplying our reach. So this is where we get into the revenue generating activities, where we get into bringing folks to you, bringing clients to you, attracting, becoming that lead magnet. So we'll look at YouTube. This is by far the most effective way to be closing business right now, in my opinion. Social media, email, and then branding while you sleep. So I'll show you the entire framework on that and give you some very actionable things that you can walk away from and start implementing right away. And then we'll cap it off our series with putting everything together so you can start seeing how all of it works together. So we'll talk about the time, leveraging your time, introducing the systems, introducing people, and then marketing. So everything is kind of tied up in a nice little bow for us. Alrighty, crew. Well, that was all we had for today. Thank you so much for coming in and participating. Next Tuesday, we have Multiplying Your Reach at 10 a.m. Central. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thanks, Javi.